I'd like to call to order the Hatfield Township Board of Commissioners regular meeting for October 23, 2024. Roll call.
President Zipfel.
Here.
Vice President Rogers.
Here.
Commissioner Andrus.
Here.
Commissioner Lestracco.
Here.
Commissioner Partha.
Here. We have a special guest this evening for a couple of different reasons. And I would like to ask Carol Bauer, who is the founder and CEO of Garden of Health, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we're going to hear a little bit more about Garden of Health in just a few minutes. Before that, we have to do some of the housekeeping items, which some people find extraordinarily exciting, others maybe not so much. So we'll try and be as quick as we can with them. So is there a motion for approval of tonight's agenda?
So moved.
I think there was a motion by everybody, all at the same time, but I'll just say Vice President Rogers and Commissioner Lestracco. Everyone over here seemed to say it at the same time. All in favor of approval of tonight's agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, we can move forward with this agenda. Consent items. Is there a motion to move the consent items into the record?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Andrus.
Second.
Second by Vice President Rogers. The consent items include the Board of Commissioners meeting minutes of September 25, the Treasurer's report for the month of October, the bills payable, paid bills in the amount of $62,206.94, and the unpaid bills in the amount of $2,557,228.39. With that, I'll call a question. All in favor of moving those into the record, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that is approved. Okay, citizens' comments. Are there any citizens' comments on agenda items? All right, there are none. So then what I'm going to ask is if Carol can join me at the podium, and I will do a brief introduction. Okay. Can you hear me? Yep.
I think so.
Not sure if it's on. Is it? It's on? Okay. So, first off, thank you everyone for coming. And if you don't know this is also televised, not live. But what we do is, this is almost, some people have told me it's on a loop. So your update that you give us is going to be broadcast throughout Hatfield Township, which is great. But Carol actually thinks that she is here just solely to give us an update. Maybe she has figured out since she came in the door, but maybe she has not. We are surprising you because we periodically give what we believe is our highest honor in Hatfield. It's called the Hatfield Hero Award, and it's for people who have done fantastic things in our community, and you are the recipients of that this evening. So, yes, I'm going to have you give an update for all the wonderful things that the Garden of Health has done. But before I do that, we want to honor you, and I have a couple of things that we're going to mention about you. So that might embarrass you a little bit, but we say it here all the time. There's no better way to say thank you than to publicly embarrass somebody in front of their family and friends. And so I know a couple of your board members, a few of your board members are here. That's why they're here. So again, not just to be part of the report, but also to congratulate you. So for those people who do not know, Carol launched the Garden of Health in 2015, and with the goal of having community gardeners to empower them to help grow for food for low-income families right here in our own community. In 2019, that's when she launched a 1-acre plot of land in Harleysville run solely by volunteers. Did we get that right?
Yep.
Okay. In 2023, that's when Hatfield started its relationship with Garden of Health and Carol in particular. And since then, we have leased 8 acres of land at Clements Park, and we have helped expand her mission, the things that she's done, and in just a moment, she's going to tell you about all the wonderful things that have taken place there. So this is where I will digress just for a second. So I'm going to jump back to one of the reasons that we lured Carol in tonight, and that is to encourage residents to volunteer. And there's a couple of different ways to volunteer. We were talking about this at Rocktoberfest. yes, it is absolutely wonderful and fantastic for people to volunteer during the growing season, planting season, and the growing season and the harvesting season. It is equally important, not only for her organization, but for the needs of those low-income folks who do not have food during the winter months, to donate to her organization, to donate to shelters and pantries, so that people have the food that they need, not just during the time right after it's harvested and for some short period of time after, but even during the winter months when people, maybe it's not top of mind, what the great things that Garden of Health are doing in the darkness of January and February. So for those of you who are here tonight and those who watch this, we are encouraging you to do one of two things or both: sign up and help and be a volunteer, but also contribute online, and I assume you can tell them exactly how to get onto the website and do exactly that. According to statistics compiled by Feeding America, there are more than 1.1 million people in Pennsylvania who are food insecure, and over 80,000 just here in Montgomery County. And so I know that we are one of the wealthiest counties in Pennsylvania, and yet we believe that there's approximately 80,000 people who are food insecure just in our county here. So because of all the wonderful things that you do, and I'm going to give you the microphone in a second, and for really creating and then bringing to us what I tell people all the time is really probably our most popular activity and effort and community effort that I've ever seen in Hatfield Township, for being for starting that and then bringing it to us and making us a better township. We want to honor you by making you a Hatfield hero tonight, and we have a couple of things to say as a way to say thank you.
Thank you.
So what we gave to her is Hatfield heroes get the medal. And then this is a collage of not just the groundbreaking, but all the great things that have taken place at the Garden of Health right here in Hatfield. So on behalf of 18,000 residents, Montgomery County, across all of Montgomery County, all the people whose lives you've changed, we want to say thank you.
I am totally shocked, had no clue whatsoever. So thank you very much for honoring not just me, but my board and our organization as a whole, and all the volunteers who come out and help us with what we do. As Tom said, I am the founder and COO of Garden of Health Food Bank, and started it in 2015 when my daughter was diagnosed with celiac and realized there was very little, if anything, that we would be able to use at our local food pantry if we needed to. So our original mission started with fresh produce and special dietary foods. When COVID hit, we changed our mission to providing healthy food for all, including those with special dietary needs. So the difference between a food pantry and a food bank is the food pantry serves the individuals, the families, the seniors. A food bank serves those agencies. So Garden of Health is both. We have a food pantry in our warehouse that serves individual families with the dietary restrictions, and we are a food bank. We serve over 65 hunger relief agencies in the county, so we touch every corner of the county with food insecurity. They come to us and they pick up food from us at a minimum of once per month, where they will get eggs, produce, and shelf-stable products, and they can leave with upwards of 2,000 pounds or more from us in that one time. We have tripled the amount of food that we handed out between last year and this year. Last year we did just under 576,000 pounds. This year so far we have done 1.6 million. I want to go back to the number that Tom said about 80,000 residents in Montgomery County. Those are the numbers that have come out from Feeding America are 2022's numbers. So we believe that number is even higher because food insecurity has gone up in 2023 and continues to go up in 2024. I will tell you that donations are down. One of your pantries right here in Hatfield, the last 2 times they have been open for distribution, before they have opened, have called me up and said, we don't have the food we need to feed the families that are coming to us tonight. What do you have that we can come get from the warehouse? So even though we have a mandated, normal once a month pickup, which is the first Wednesday of the month and then the following Thursday, If we have food in our warehouse, they are able to come to us at any time during the month to get additional food during that month. We never say no. If it's in my warehouse, they can come grab it and get it. It doesn't do any good being in the warehouse if there are families out in the county that need food. There's also an agency, and I promise not to name names, that is not directly in this part of the county, but is in Montgomery County, that is currently selling assets to keep their doors open. Food insecurity is a huge issue in Montgomery County, and a lot of people think that we are the second wealthiest county in the state, so how can we have so much food insecurity? We need to make sure that we keep our donations here in the county, and if we can do that, I think we can end hunger in Montgomery County by having everybody support the residents in Montgomery County who are struggling with food insecurity. Thank you.
When we were talking at Rockto, oh, she's trying to run away. Oh no, you're not done. You're not done. This is going to continue, and it gets worse. I assure you. Better for us, worse for you. When we were talking at Rocktoberfest, and Carol told me that just the sheer pounds of food that have been, harvested and used right here in Montgomery County, and the need for it, it just became so painfully obvious that any way that we can contribute, any way that we can support you, especially kind of like we talked about, kind of in the, I'll call my term, the off season, right? Whether it's contributions with a specific food or money in particular. That's one of the big reasons, second reason we wanted to be here, not only to honor you, but for that. So everyone who watches, really think that through, and we'd ask you to make that contribution. So the worst part of it is the photographs that we're now going to take.
I don't mind the photographs.
Okay, well, join me down here because we're going to take some.
I didn't touch the agenda. I didn't touch the agenda. Thank you.
Yeah, I will. So usually,
They should probably escape, right?
yeah, I was going to say, I'm going to let them go because usually right around now people sit awkwardly or they just run. Of all the people who deserve to just be able to go home and run, go ahead. Thank you for everything you're doing for our township. Greatly appreciate it. Okay, so
care about those that stay behind.
that's right, and we do care about those who are still remaining with us, and we are very pleased to have more than just a couple people tonight, so it's great. So there's actually a second item that we're going to encourage, and again, not just attendees tonight, but also people who watch this. On Friday, we're going to have a large amount of contributions of food and water and supplies of all different kinds shipped down to Asheville, North Carolina, where it's just so much in need. And our expectation is that we are going to be able to fill a cargo van full of with supplies. And it's just doubled. Just in the last day, the contributions from our residents has doubled tremendously. And I want to add to that we just got a commitment today from ShopRite, our local ShopRite, right on 40-Foot Road, that they're going to be donating 3 pallets of canned vegetables and 3 pallets of water. And so a pallet, for those people who are just generally wondering, it's in excess of 200, probably about 260 or 270 cases of different vegetables, canned vegetables, and 270 cases of water. Our big problem now, which is a great problem to have, is how do we fit it in our cargo van, and that's a fantastic problem to have. So I want to thank everybody who has contributed. I want to ask anyone who sees this before tomorrow, because tomorrow's the last day to drop off, because come Friday, we'll start to drive it down there and deliver it, and I want to thank everyone who participated in that. So it's a big night for contributions to the township. All right, so that's all the fun stuff. We have two quick action items. They are just some two quick updates. Aaron, do you want to take these, or am I reading that right?
Sure, and then we do have some citizens' comments, Mr. President, that I'm going to read on behalf of Ms. Houston Martinez in the front row. But for this item in particular, I think you could probably send it over to our solicitor, Mr. Iannozzi, to begin a public hearing.
Yep. So why don't we start with that, Mr.
Thank
Iannozzi?
you. At this time, I will suspend the public meeting, proceed into a public hearing, and mark the following exhibits into the record. T1 is the proof of publication. T2 is the legal notice. T3 is the letter to the law library. T4 is the letter to the paper. T5 is the actual ordinance. T6 is the transmittal to the County Planning Commission. T7 is the minutes from the Township Planning Commission. At this time, I'll turn it over to the manager to summarize the ordinance, and then we'll take questions from the commissioners and take questions from the public, and then we will proceed back to the public meeting for a vote on this ordinance. Aaron?
Thanks, Mr. Solicitor. Commissioners, we went over this ordinance 2 weeks ago. I would consider this a housekeeping item, although it is amending the zoning code, so therefore it requires a public hearing and 2 advertisements in the newspaper. There were several, and the ordinance is in the packet, and the commissioners have reviewed it. We've discussed it. There are several smaller items being amended. This is based on 5 to 6 years of feedback from our retired zoning officer, Ken Amy, and then some comments from our new zoning officer, Don Delamater, after reviewing the zoning code, finding language that is inconsistent, finding language that is unclear when you read it. We want our zoning code to be simple for when residents pull it up, they can have a clear understanding on what they can and can't do on their property without zoning relief. So there's several language changes that we went over a few weeks ago, updating it to make sure that it's consistent with the federal housing law, to make sure that our ordinance is in compliance, as well as modernizing the ordinance, specifically regulating where on a commercial property your electric vehicle charging stations can be to make sure it's safe and not a fire hazard. And the other items that we went over a few weeks ago that, again, this has nothing to do with any current land development projects. This does not change what type of uses can be in certain zones. This is simply a update to our zoning code that is long overdue to clean up some language.
With that, are there any questions from the commissioners at this time? Any questions from the public at this time? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing, proceed back into the public meeting, and turn it over to the president for a vote.
All right, so that brings us to the ordinance consideration. Is there a motion for approval of ordinance 706?
So moved.
Motion by Vice President Rogers, second by Commissioner Lestracco. Any questions or comments about the ordinance? All right, hearing none, then I'll call the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that is approved. And that brings us to citizens' comments. Any citizens' comments on agenda items or otherwise?
Mr. President, Dean, you want to go first? Then I'm going to read this on. You sure? All right, I wasn't sure if there was some other. Yeah, thank you. I'm sure Ms. Houston Martinez is appreciative. So, commissioners, Ms. Houston Martinez was at our last meeting or a month ago and came out with some feedback regarding the proposed or the future proposed land development that the school district has sold to Pulte. And I'll read this on her behalf because of some health issues. You'd prefer that I would read that, correct? And we'll enter that into the minutes. Dear Hatfield Township Commissioners, thank you for having me at your meeting. I am bringing proof that the pesticide that the North Penn School District farmer uses on the fields adjacent to my house are making us sick. It also can cause problems up to 20 years with exposure to all of us. 2 things I kindly ask. 1, I'm asking for you to stop using synthetic pesticides on the fields. Also, prohibit the new owner from using synthetic pesticides. 2, the survey company Control Point was here today and shortened my yard so that I would be unable to park. The paper streets should consider how we have been living and work around that. The gravel road is a clear sign of the property line. 3, I'm proposing another solution. I want the township to leave the movie lots as agricultural. Please imagine an open space. We could get a return on investment grant. This is the last farm in Hatfield Township. I have a proposal map showing the co-op and a trail around the farm. It could be like Peace Valley Park. Manna on Main Street could work the land until it's healthy for farming again. Eventually, we could build a beautiful organic co-op. This is much needed. Food inflation has become unmanageable for many households. Lastly, Hatfield Township would become the place to go. Respectfully, Patricia Houston Martinez. Did I do okay? Would you like me to bring you a handheld microphone? Gotcha. So there's information that she provided that I'll hand out to the commissioners. You have a copy for everyone to read about the pesticide, I believe, and
The bottom.
okay, at the bottom here. We'll pass these out.
That's great. These are copies that we can take a look at and consider? Okay, great. Aaron, is that copies we can make for each of us?
I think there are enough for the rest of the commissioners, and I can make additional copies if
Okay,
needed.
great.
I believe there's other material down there on the table that you brought as well, Ms. Houston, and we could review that as well for sure. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for coming out. And we don't get many people who come out and to begin with, but also who give us ideas to consider. And so that's great. Thank you for sharing this information, and we'll certainly take it, review it, and have a discussion about it. So thank you. All right. Any other citizens' comments?
Good evening, Dean Benninger, Hatfield Fire Company President. So, I believe 2 years ago about this time, we were stating that we purchased the truck. So I'm here again to advise the board that we had signed for another truck that we will not receive till 2028. So the reason the signing is to save us almost 28% interest increase in the next 4 years.
Wow.
So we, the members, and our members decided that we would sign at the end of the month. The truck now is going to cost us $1,190,000. We are locked in at that price till 2028. That's why we are locked in at that price. So we're saving, we're trying to save you tax money and us and all the way around.
Sure.
So we think it's a good idea.
Sure.
And Commissioner, sorry to jump in, Mr. President, but Dean, correct me if I'm wrong, this purchase is in the capital plan that will be coming in front of you shortly.
That's what I was going to say. I'm pretty sure that it's in the capital plan, and so it's great forethought. I mean, there's not a lot of.
We've done a lot of research and, talking to our salesmen for Pierce. We've reached out to other companies. They're all in the same boat. They're all about 4 years out for a custom truck. We looked at, maintenance, service, and all that kind of stuff. We're still getting a very good service from Pierce. That's why we stick with Pierce.
Okay.
So,
that's great.
but we're just letting you know that, we did sign, that we are going to save a lot of money over the years.
Yeah, that's great news. I mean, that's the way to do it. So it's a shame that it takes so long, and yet at the same time.
That's the point too. I mean, we're not going to get it till 2028, and that's still, our oldest engine is 2008, so that put us at 20 years. That truck would be replaced, the 20-year plan.
Right.
So.
Okay.
Okay.
That's great. Thank you.
Yep.
Great forethought.
Commissioners, I think it's important to note too, Dean's putting a lot of work in. Both fire company, the leadership have been getting together often, and they're working together very well and putting together a nice plan for the future of the fire service in Hatfield. So Dean deserves a lot of credit for that.
That is great to hear. Very great to hear. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's John Sperling. I live at 1701 It used to be West Main Street, Lansdale, but it's now Welsh Road. I've lived there since 1974. This is again about the proposed, what is it, the Del Webb people that built Del Webb. They want to build the movie lots behind us. In order to do it, it's my understanding they need 40 foot of, or 50 foot of access, and all those paper roads are only 40 foot wide. My neighbor has gotten a letter from them, people asking him if he was willing to sell. I don't know if he's going to or not. I told him if they make an offer he can't refuse, he's a fool to turn it down. But that means that actually there were people out there, surveyors been running all over surveying the whole thing. And I was talking to the surveyor. He showed me a plot of what they'd like to do. And one of them is to go through my neighbor's house as an in driveway and down 3rd Street, which is our driveway, as an access. So, I mean, if he sells, that's fine, but I mean, I just don't like the idea of them taking 3rd Street and turning it into an access. It's always been since I've lived here, it's been the policy that the people who live next to those paper streets, although we can't close them, but the paper streets would go to the owners of the property next to it. So I want my 20 feet of it at least if you guys go ahead and give them that right of way. So. And I promised you I'd be here at every meeting, and here I am. I'll be back next month.
No, that's good. That's good. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
I think you know, but just for people who are watching, just so in case they don't, that none of that design is pending ahead of before us yet.
I know that.
Well, I know you do. I'm just letting people who watch this know. There's no design that's been presented to us. Actually, you got a look at it before we did. We didn't even know that. So your sneak peek is giving us a little bit of a sneak peek.
Well, they're also they want to take. She lives on 4th Street, another paper street, and they were up measuring that. And I understand they were talking to surveying all along Orville Road as well. Welsh Road cannot handle all that traffic. If you come down there now, especially with the detour that's going on, it's backed all the way back to the shopping center. So, and Orville Road can't handle it, and neither can Coffle Road. The people that built that Del Webb thing, if they had designs of building down in the movie lots, they should have run the road right through there. There's a 2-lane road going with a traffic light on 40-foot road. That's where they should access it if they have to access it.
As they go through the process, and we don't know when they will come back to us with that. Obviously, people who live in the area get notified, and yes, definitely, we'd like you to come back to those meetings.
Oh, I'll be there.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming out. Okay, any other citizens' comments? All right, seeing none, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Andrus, second by Commissioner Lustracco. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, we're adjourned. Thanks for coming out, folks.